We have always had arrangements with the press constraining what they could and couldn't use and what we could and couldn't do. The problem with social media is it's the Wild West. There is no organization with whom you can have those discussions. And it has come upon us very fast indeed. I want to take you through the protections and guidance which are available for United Kingdom judges. But what you need to know is that on appointment as a judge in the United Kingdom, it is made very, very clear that no external political profile is acceptable. I know this is different from Italy. It's definitely different from what happens in the Netherlands. But we don't join political parties. We don't subscribe to political parties. We don't make political statements online, and we don't like or dislike political statements online either. And the reason for that is they can get you in trouble. Oh, bless you, whoever that was. So, trying to move this forward. Okay, what am I'm doing something wrong here.
Yeah, perfect.
There we are, we've got it. So this, I know you were looking at the UNODC guidance earlier today, but this encapsulates it. The use of social media by individual judges should maintain the moral authority, integrity, decorum and dignity of their judicial office. And that also chimes with what is said in the Bangalore Principles. The comment in red is from our own guidance. Inappropriate social media engagement may risk damaging both the judge's own standing and that of the judiciary as a whole. And you will have just heard from Judge Sterick how difficult it is to, this is not working, apologies. Why is it not doing it?
Maybe just press the up and down button. Does that work?
It doesn't.
Page up and page down, no?
Let's try page up. Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Okay, then next.
There we
There
are.
we go.
There we are. There we are. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Thank you. So, as far as the press is concerned, it's quite easy. There's a convention dictating that judges cannot comment outside the courtroom on any case of which they're presiding or have presided, or discuss any decision they've made or any sentence they've imposed, or the decisions of other judges. And that is in line with what Judge Sterick was saying earlier. And what the press are informed is that as there are no circumstances in which judges can speak to the press about such matters, approaches may risk breaching clause 3 of the Independent Press Standards Code, and questions are to go to the Judicial Press Office. As I say, that there is a structure there. It doesn't always work. I have some personal experience of it not working on at least one occasion, but at least it's there. Our Guide to Judicial Conduct tells us what we can do about all this. It says that whilst the use of social networking is a matter of personal choice, we have to have regard to the information and security guidance that the Judicial Technology Committee has issued, and also to bear in mind the spread of information and the use of technology and jigsaw research. Now, jigsaw research is a phrase you may or may not be familiar with. It enables the person who wants to threaten you or criticize you to put together things that you have on different places, things that are publicly available, and to learn more than you thought they could learn. So we're advised to keep our personal life and home address offline. We are advised to be ex-directory with our telephone and not to put our addresses in anything. And we're advised to check every now and again by Googling ourselves. And also to avoid putting our personal details on Facebook or on Twitter. That seems to me just like common sense. In the media guide, which now goes back 12 years, but which remains right, we are told that judicial office holders exercise our freedom to talk to the media with the greatest circumspection. But the media report and discuss cases, and we cannot ignore this reality, nor would we want to. There was a particular case back in 2017 where there was a constitutional issue around the whole Brexit thing. And one of the newspapers referred to the judges who made a particular decision as enemies of the people, which sent a shiver down the national spine, and certainly down the spine of the judiciary. Unfortunately, there was no political response, at least not immediately, but the Lord Chief Justice did comment on that. So we have this media guide, which tells us practical ways where we can use the Judicial Press Office to help us if we've got a case we know is going to interest the press, or if, despite trying, we have been misreported. And both things happen, of course they do. We have to put up with quite a lot of being misreported, and either accidentally or deliberately by the press, in order to make a good story. There is just nothing to be done about that. So we are not prohibited from having personal social media accounts, but we're reminded that this can compromise our safety or that of the family and our colleagues. We have to be aware of the risk of, oops, I'm so sorry. The risk of undermining trust and confidence in the judiciary by expressing or endorsing views which could cast doubt on objectivity. Something you liked online years ago could be identified by the press and used to criticize what you're doing now. So you have to be very, very careful what you like, what you repost, what you post. You have to be very careful not to disclose confidential or sensitive information, and to bear in mind that a serious case of inappropriate use of social media can be referred to the Judicial Conduct Investigations Office, which is a disciplinary body which can penalise and, in extremis, remove judges for misconduct. I've had a look. There don't seem yet to have been any such removals or disciplines, but it can only be a matter of time. So, risk factors. You have to consider how far up the tree you are, the sort of work you do, how prominent you are. And then you have to consider what each of the platforms do. They are all rather different. Facebook is a social place. It permits written contributions, short or long, but it does give the reader details about your appearance, your home, your family, your friends, and your leisure activities, which, if you thought about it, you might not actually want to share. Instagram is mainly pictures, relatively little verbal content. TikTok, which the American Senate and governments are looking at the moment, is strongly linked to China. It contains short videos and it's at a high risk for information scraping. The underlying ownership may not be what it seems, and extreme caution is advised with TikTok. Twitter is fast-moving, predominantly written, and tends towards controversy, says the guidance. There is an official Twitter account for the press office. Some of the courts, the Supreme Court has an official Twitter account. Judges are advised to stay away from unofficial Twitter accounts. Strava, which is a sports app, can get you burgled because they know which team you support and when you're going to go and watch your team play. So most of these will have a private setting. You need to set the setting as high as you possibly can so that you are only talking to your friends and people you know and trust. You have to control access to your personal details, control your readership, control yourself, and guide friends, family, and acquaintances about posting things which could identify you. I have had occasion to ask people to take things down, which they've always very kindly done without arguing. You can use a pseudonym, but if they want to find you, they will. however careful you are. But the basic rule is not to post or like anything if you wouldn't stand in the town square and yell it, because that is basically what you're doing. The other thing you need to take account of is that these posts are permanent. Even Snapchat has records too. There is a little digital doppelganger which remains available whatever you do, and in fact survives your death and will always be there, and all of the information that you put on the internet will always be available for the rest of time, as far as we can tell. So whatever you're putting, you need to be thinking like that. We have a good press office. We are advised to route everything through the press office. They're available with a pager 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you've got a high profile case, they'll help you prepare a press statement and they'll get it out there. And because, of course, they deal with the press on a regular basis, they are in a better position to help the press get the reporting right, although they probably are not in a position to stop any particularly attractive or funny story from getting out there. The press office has Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts, and a fund of good news stories which can be found at that link there. And they also put out announcements such as the recent appointment of a Lady Chief Justice, which we're all very pleased about. If you are unlucky enough to have something come up that you weren't expecting, the press office won't be able to stop it necessarily, but they can help you manage it. They can help you respond by them putting out a press release and generally deal with it and make it as benign as it can be. But once a story has started to run, it, in my experience, it runs and runs and runs, and it really never goes away. So we take this rather more restrictive approach, much more restrictive, I think, than most of our civil law judge colleagues. We keep our politics to ourselves and we keep out of the public eye. In fact, when I first started doing this job, judges hardly ever made any public pronouncements. Leading judges do make speeches now, and those speeches are available and they are reported. And once a year, the Lady Chief Justice goes and gives evidence to Parliament about what judges are up to and what's going to be happening. But generally, the message in the UK and in all other civil law, common law jurisdictions of which I'm aware, is that you do not do politics. You simply don't. And you keep your head below the parapet as far as possible. And if there is a problem, you deal with it through the press office. I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much.